Okay, well, I got completely through both days of Coventry. I mean, I just finished Coventry day two, the curtain with, and whew, man, I got this icky feeling like it's that's not where we're at right now, you know? I mean, thankfully we got like Soul Planet and all this stuff, but I mean, boy, just hearing Trey's voice, he just sounded so frail, just like he probably hadn't slept in days. And I mean, I thought day one was much better. I mean, I hate to even say it was much better. That makes it sound like, day one wasn't very much. There wasn't a lot there to write home about. But this one, I mean, they did have the split open and melt, obviously. That was probably the best thing they did all of 2004, maybe, was that split open and melt. And that came right after the breakdown and Waiting in the Velvet Sea from Trey and Page, and then the glide. Oh man. I mean, that glide was, as Trey described it, as confusion. There was more than confusion there, man. And then just all the song, like Seven Below, but surprisingly was all right. But most of the jams, like Wolfman's Brother, he didn't even try to make the telephone ring. You know, that's just like a cool little part, man. So that part of Fish was just completely gone at this point. He was more worried. I mean, and then like celebrating, bringing up family members and tour accountants and just tour managers. And although that would have all been great if this was like a big celebration and everything was ending on a big happy note, but instead you have what appeared to be just a completely you know tragically deep in drug abuse Trey on stage. And as like everybody was sort of like acknowledging it but in denial at the same time. And then like the Waiting in the Velvet Sea thing, I just remember thinking like what's going on, man? They clearly don't want to quit. Like, why is this happening? And maybe being young and a little bit naive to addiction, I just remember thinking like, why don't they just like fix this? I think it's clear what the problem is. They just need to fix this and then get back on track and everything will be fine. Like, it was just that simple. It was clearly was not that simple. They needed to stop. And it had to come to Trey being arrested. And we all know that story. And luckily we got back on track and we still have Fish. And but man, I guess I had just forgotten just how close it was and just how gloomy it was. And I was like a new fan at the time still, really. And I had some shows under my belt. 2003 was so much fun. And then, oh man, it just all kind of came to an abrupt, horrible end. It was just like, in some ways, it was like selfishly, it's like we're losing our favorite band. And then other ways, it was a little bit of a letdown because you almost felt like so many rock stars have come and gone with their drug problems. Some die young, some just never make it, some fizzle out. And then it just almost felt like maybe Fish was above that. Like, nah, they're not. They won't get caught in that trap. These guys got their head on straight. Sure, they like to party and all this and that, but they're just having fun. That was obviously not the case. It's a downward spiral, big time. So more of that was just all, rather than just like a recap of the show, like all that kind of came back. And then just the playing. I mean, I was the curtain with. Good call there on the end. I remember absolutely no one. I don't recall anybody calling that one. People thought Fluffhead. Oh, and then of note, Trey made a joke that they were going to do a full Broadway play of Gamehenge there at the encore. He was just like, he mentioned Gamehenge, and then he was like, and now put your hands together. We'd like to bring out the Chicago Symphony and some dance troupe, and we're going to do a Broadway production of Gamehenge. Put your hands together. Blah, 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 ha, ha. Then he was like, ha, 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 ha. One last stupid joke. And then they played the curtain with, and then they had to stop at some point. They had to stop the curtain with and restart because they were in the wrong key. So what could have been a very beautiful ending, and it had its moments. There were times when I was listening to that, just imagining like, wow, if this really was it. This whole thing was a disaster, but this is kind of nice. And he told the story about how he wrote the song When and Where, just a town over. And all these years he took it to the band, and now all these years later they're going to finish this way. So all that was really cool. And then just, I don't know, that second set with the Dickie Scotland and all that, I don't know. Like I said, like that would have been much cooler if it wasn't the parents being brought up, the Wolfman's Brother reveal. All this would have been good stuff if not for the fact that everything was just so tragic. And it's like, are we just ignoring this? Like, I remember we thought he was going to die, really. Um, and they were just carrying on like it was normal. And then, during Velvet Sea, Page just couldn't pretend anymore. And he starts breaking down and crying and trying to sing through it. And, You never try to sing through it, Paige. Come on. We all forgive you. We understand. Nobody's trying to be out macho each other up on stage at a Phish show for sure. But if you're going to break down and cry, like eventually he pushed the mic away. But believe me, I've done it. If you're going to start crying, you got to cease talking. You can't like talk through your crying, man. It just never looks good. People are going to be like, oh no. Any sympathy you might have gotten, they're just going to be like, oh God, that guy's pathetic. And I'm not above a man crying or any of that, but guys, you can't talk while you're crying. You're going to be like, well-filled sea. Just hold off for a moment. I think maybe it was the guy, Brett Favre, I think, did it once. Oh, man. Other than, him ripping off all those people in Mississippi, that was the second worst thing Brett Favre ever did. Probably that interception against the Eagles would be up there as well. All right, well, that about does it. Split Open Melt was great. If you haven't went back in a long time, that is worth it. Maybe even the Curtain With. Maybe listen to that encore segment. The Week of Pog. But all this like free, just like a lot of songs, man. Just kind of like the free from the day before. They would just kind of get like somewhere in the middle of the jam and then just had no idea where to go. Like Trey was leading them nowhere. Mike was always trying his best, Mike was like that one guy out there on the all-star team. Fishman, I think, was just like, I don't know what to do. He loved Trey. I'm sure it broke his heart to see all that. Paige. Poor Paige. Man. Oh, well. It's gross. It was gross. I'll probably never go back and ever listen to this again, really. This was fun. I'm glad I did it. Got this out of my system. Now we're going to go into Mexico, and things will seem awesome compared to this. All right, guys. Boom. We are out of here. Yuck. It's fine, though. We're back on the train. I feel I don't even think there was anything else good to talk about, really, other than that Split Open and Melt. Seven Below Jam had a moment there. The Week of Pog. Got a little whistling in Reba. The Glide's fun. Listen to that Glide, too, if you haven't in a long time. That was cool. All right, we're really out of here. Boom, 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 boom. Coventry. The end. But not really the end. Sorry, I'm done this time. Floppy's over here sleeping. He's probably like, dude, shut up already. Almost 8 minutes of this nonsense.